Hey, are we live yet?
Oh, we are, Aaron. Good morning.
Hey.
You look very, very sexy today.
Oh, thank you. Oh, wait, I got to turn that down. Whoop. Yeah, thanks, man. You're looking very sexy too. That bald head of yours and stuff. Woo! Looking good. Let's see. What do we got here? We got Mark, Ray, Oreo, Aaron, David. Is that another Mark? No, the same Mark, Aaron, blah, 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 blah. Torben, how you guys all doing there? Thanks for coming into the chat. Hope you guys enjoy the show. We got
Aaron is saying hi. Oreo, yeah, Mark is here. We've got stacks now starting to pop in this morning or evening for you.
Hello. I'm still getting things set up, guys. We literally get all this stuff set up right before we get on. Okay, let's see here. Got that one.
We're right, I think. I was just about to say, you do look very, very handsome today, Aaron. I have to sort of commend you on your looks. Very, very smart.
Thank you. That's well, I mean, I got to put a little style every once in a while. So I appreciate that. Let me get this here. Okay, I think I'm ready. How you guys doing in chat? Everybody's doing good?
Yep, so we're on pre-show at the moment, guys. So we're going to be chatting for, say 2 or 3 minutes or so. Actually, let me start the timer because I'll do that now.
This chat always bounces around for me. I hate that.
Yeah, I know it does. It can just jump to the bottom sometimes as well, and it sort of goes all over the place, which
I don't know how you keep track of it. I get lost, and I'm like, ah. So we got Rule, Harry, someone else I missed there, Ray T, Fuji. That's right, Fuji all the way, bro. Trevor, how y'all doing?
I love Trevor's comment. You look like a motorcycle cop from the 1970s.
Well, these aren't quite aviators, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So how you doing today, David?
Really good, actually. Really great.
How's the weather there?
Well, it's nice. It's, what are we, 21 degrees today. So we're just about nearly winter, so it's starting to get cool now. So we're 21.
My favorite.
21 Celsius. So what's that, about 70 Fahrenheit 70, or something, I suppose?
Yeah, 72-ish or something. Yeah. That sounds really nice. Here it's really hot.
It'll get cold, though, shortly. We'll be, I think we're down to around about 15 next week, so it does get quite cold. But I like the change of climates. I actually like it when it goes a bit cold and,
I love it. I love the cold weather. You see the little motorcycles there. Yeah, I love the cold weather, man. It's like that. I hate the summer, actually. I love winter, fall, and then I like spring for photography to get all the pretty stuff. But once summer hits, I'm already done with the heat.
Yeah, I mean, the typical Aussie thing, we always whinge about our winter, but they're pretty mild, really. I mean, we sort of get in the 60s and we're complaining like crazy, saying it's the end of the earth.
That's the same everywhere, though. It'll rain like crazy. People say, oh, it rains too much, and it doesn't rain, then it's too cold and too hot. It's like the same everywhere.
Yeah, so we've got some great stories anyway to talk about today, so I'm looking forward to that. We'll give it one more minute, and then we'll start the show. So if you can, guys, give us a thumbs up because it does let people know that we're on live. Obviously, that helps us a lot as well. But we've got some really interesting stories to go through today, a whole range of things coming up. Just a quick shout out to mention that if you do watch my Thursday live Sony Alpha News and Rumors show, that's going to be on tomorrow now, not on the next day or Friday my time or Thursday your time, due to the fact I've got weddings all weekend. I've got one on Friday and one on Saturday, so I'll have to do the show a bit earlier this week.
All right. Keep note of that.
Now let me go up to the thing because I need to put in our time.
Hey, Gerald, how you doing?
When we're going to start.
Glad to have you here. What was I going to say about this? Oh yeah, we got what? Should we go? Should we do it?
We can do it now. Right? I've got the time, so I'm going to put that in now. What time we're starting?
All right.
2:50. Where are we? 2:50. So I'm ready to go whenever you are, Aaron.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome to Behind the Photo. This is a place where you get all kind of cool news about all kind of different stuff, not just camera-specific brands, but all kind of different brands, new products that are coming out, also new like software. And we also talk about issues in photography and videography as well, not just about the gear or techniques. We also, me and David David Oastler is the other host. I'm Aron J Anderson, by the way. I'll show a photo and take you through behind the scenes, basically on how I got the photo. And then David does the same. We do this every Tuesday at 8 o'clock on my channel, and then the next Tuesday on David's channel. So please subscribe, give us some thumbs up. And if we don't answer your questions in the live chat, or you're not here with us in the live chat, go ahead and leave it in the link in the comments section below, because as the days go by, we can kind of pop in there and answer those questions. And before we go on, David, do you want to talk about our Facebook page real quick?
Yeah, if you wanted to sort of show that up, it's
there it is.
We've set up this page called Photography and Videography School. Just make sure you write the "and" as you see up the top there, which is important if you're going to join us on that group. It's just an extension, really, of our YouTube channels. But look, we're leaving it open for everyone to. Well, you can see now there's 4,500 people. It's growing very, very fast. But it's a very friendly type environment. We don't allow any prima donna type people to come in. If they start abusing people or basically saying they're better than everyone else, one warning, and then if they do it again, they're booted. So it's a very safe environment. You can share anything you like your websites, your YouTube clips, Instagram feeds, everything. The only thing you can't do is just go live to it. And that's about the only sort of restriction we make on there. But it's fantastic. So please join us if you haven't joined us on there. It's a really positive site. And everyone always says to me, David, this is the most positive site basically on Facebook due to the fact that they feel safe, which is great.
Exactly. Absolutely. I love it. I started hanging out here right around Christmas time, or a little before, no, probably a couple months before last Christmas. And yep, that's the one thing I just got real quick, is this is a really good place to go. You don't have to be scared to ask a question and have someone jump all down your throat saying like, what an idiot you are for not knowing that, even though they were that idiot at some point in their life as well. So, right. Okay. So first of all, we're drinking coffee here in Pittsburgh. Every week I drink a different coffee from a different place that me and my wife went and got a mug from.
So where is Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh is, well, like it's at the top of the United States, and it's between my home state of Ohio and New York. So if you know where New York is and you just started driving west, then you end up hitting Pittsburgh there. It's in Pennsylvania. And we actually went there once to a car show, a really cool car show. And there's a lot of Amish people that live there. So they've got this beautiful Amish country, really interesting place to go. So if you guys never been there, go check it out. Pittsburgh Penguins, also hockey, one of my favorite teams.
Well, yes. I'm drinking Milo, which I love, which is like a chocolate beverage. It's really popular here in Australia. So like I said, it's too early for me to be drinking the coffee that I usually drink in summer.
Yeah, your coffee quotes. Yeah,
it's too. I'll be back doing that once it warms up again in a few months. But at the moment, I'm drinking the real warm stuff, so it's not actually the fake coffee. So that's it. All right. So do you want to start the first story, Aron? I'll put the time in.
Yes, let's do the story right now. I am going to share the screen, present. Okay, so this first story is, I'm sure you guys heard it. I think it was Gerald who posted this. Someone posted it on our Facebook page. But this is the new Peak Design travel tripod. It's Peak Design. They have a Kickstarter thing going on where you can get 20% off the price if you involve yourself in that Kickstarter. Now, I've never partook in Kickstarter, so not sure how that works. But the tripod looks really cool. I mean, when I saw the videos and the photos, I fell in love with it right away, just because it has this really, the way they design it, it folds up, like all the legs are together, and it has kind of a roundish feel to it with no hard edges. You can get a carbon fiber version or an aluminum version. And the legs, there's a lot of things about this that I wish I had in a tripod, and I almost wanted to design my own sometimes. And they actually nailed some of the stuff that I like or always wanted in a tripod. So if you guys haven't seen this, check it out. It has a really unique head swivel on this here. Now, this is mainly for photography, because I don't think it has well, by looking at this photo, it doesn't look like it has a pan and tilt. It looks like you might be able to pan left and right, maybe, but it doesn't have the tilt for video. So maybe I always wanted someone, I think there's a head out there that does that where you can lock it off and do something like that. If not, hopefully someday they'll make that. And it doesn't come cheap though. David just told me how much it is, so it's quite expensive. But it looks really nifty. It goes up really quick. And how do you feel about this, David?
Well, looking at it, I don't think it can justify the price on what they're asking for this. There's a couple of things why. If you switch that off for a second, I'll just show you what I sort of use. I love this. I mean, this is the one that I absolutely adore, and this is the Mi Photo one. Now, there's one thing about this that I think they've really missed on that when they're saying it's a travel tripod. The fact that this one comes with a monopod built into it, which I think is probably one of the nicest features about this tripod, because then you just take the head off and you put that onto there. Nice. And a lot of places where you go, particularly if you're traveling, you can't take tripods in with you. I know when I went to Paris and stuff like that, that most of the places there ban tripods from going in, but I could take my monopod, so I can take that in. So that's one massive feature about this. And I just looked online. This is the Mi Photo one, and this is carbon fiber as well. But this is only a little, I think it's just about $350 US, whereas the Peak Design one is going to be $600 when it's off this Kickstarter. So if you pay for it now, well, you've got to basically wait 6 months before you can get it at the end of the year. So that's also a long time. But I just don't know if you can justify the cost. And I noticed there's a few reviews up this morning all glowing about it. But then I noticed Tony Northrup, who did a review this morning, actually said it wasn't worth the money. That was just too much money for what he would have paid. So $600 is pretty well up there when you think, yes, it fits tighter than what this is, but this is also incredibly light. And I think if you're looking at the weight of these ones are lighter than what the Peak Design one will going to be. Now, I don't mind buying expensive gear. Like, as you know, Aaron, I've just bought the I haven't got that. I've just got the Profoto A1X, and that's a really expensive speed light. And you can get much cheaper speed lights. But for me, that speed light is worth it because I'm in the Profoto system. But you can't say that with a tripod, because tripods are not sort of linked to anything apart from the head that you use. And these are all Arca Swiss adapters on there. It doesn't matter what you use. So in this situation, particularly, there's no way I'd be paying $600 for a tripod that does similar things to this, but it doesn't have that monopod adapter, which I think is the most or the best part about having a travel tripod like this. It's very light and is also carbon fiber. So you're paying double what this is, and you're also not getting the monopod side to it. So what do you think, Aaron, about that?
Yeah, like I said, when I first saw it, I was like, hey, that's something I'd get and love it. But yeah, the price is kind of steep. Now, I use a Mi Photo also, and I'll just show you how small this is. Now, this one doesn't go up too tall. It goes like maybe to my chin if you make it all tall, which is good for most photography. When I film myself with for YouTube, I do, I wish it was a little taller, but it is what it is. I needed something very small, so I use this Mi Photo, and it takes a couple. What I don't like is I've never liked the turny type things. They do take a while. I like the ones that just clip out and do. Everybody has their own thing, but it's just quicker. So that one's a lot quicker. It goes a lot taller, but I don't think it's quite that small. So this one here, I don't see me upgrading to anything anytime soon, unless if I'm going to do video work, then I'm going to use a heftier tripod that I'm actually using now. That's a Manfrotto there. But when I go traveling, and I'm not doing anything professional, it's just for my own work, then this one, it just works fine. And it's a Mi Photo. It's not that expensive. It's kind of light. It would be nice to have a carbon fiber one maybe, but no, I'm good with this. So that one looks nice, and I applaud them for making something look really nice. But yep, the price is kind of steep.
See, it's not only that though, but you can pan with this because, you've got your control at the top here, and you can do that off, and then you can pan with it if you want to.
I got the same head on there.
Yeah, there's no panning facility at all on that tripod. So if you're like me, where you do fusion and stills at the same time, or video and stills, that tripod is no good in that regard. It's totally for photography. So like I said, this is way, and I'm not sponsored by them at all. I bought this, I think it was a couple of years ago. But, you know, in this one, you've got the monopod, you've got the ability to do the panning if you have video on it. It's carbon fiber, and it's half the price that you're going to pay for that tripod. So, you know, I think apart from the fact that there might be less gap between here and the in that new Peak Design one, they're probably almost about the same size. You know, I mean, this is really small. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably decent enough if you like. I suppose you want Peak Design, and that's one thing you want to go towards. But I'd certainly be buying something else and be buying that.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. How do you guys think about that? You guys would, I mean, if you don't need the panning type thing and you've got the money to spend, I think it's a great travel tripod. But yeah, the Me photos are really, really good. Did you say yours is carbon fiber?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's the carbon fiber one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and like
nice.
I said, you can currently get that. I was just looking on there. You know, at B&H Photo, it's $349. So that's really light and really cheap. Like I said, it's you're saving 50% over what the Peak Design will be. So,
what do you think the benefits of the Peak Design over yours is, if you just had to be honest?
Well, the only thing I suppose is the leg extension seems to be nice if you like that. Sometimes having to use the wind-up ones like they are can be a bit awkward to set up. But look, they showed the video of it where a guy was struggling trying to set it up, and I think that was a little bit staged this morning. That when I watched that, he was having more trouble than what you do doing it. That's probably the only thing that I liked about it, was the fact that your leg extensions came out a little bit easier. But like I said, it doesn't take me any time at all to use mine.
Yeah, I agree.
It's more the monopod for me is worth it more than anything, and the panning facility, because at least you can use it as a bit of a video tripod and a stills one, whereas that one you're limiting yourself to just the still side of it. And the ball head worries me a little bit, because that one little lever, I noticed Tony Northrup did it this morning, and he cut his hand on it because he didn't realize that the second you released it, it fell down and it crushed his finger, and he was bleeding off his finger. And he showed that on, he showed that on his review this morning. So there's going to be, like, it worries me when you only have one operation like that potentially, you know, could it cause issues later on if you've only got one attachment that sort of connects it. The other thing too was he did make an issue about that if you forget to tighten up the ring at the bottom, which you can see there in the red, that it can potentially fall off if you hit that top lever. And he said he thinks that's probably what will happen. Tony Northrup had a totally different spin over the other people that were there, because obviously all the others were sponsored. Yeah, and exactly. Tony said, I'm not sponsored. He didn't even go to the show that they had. And he said at the end, he didn't realize, he walked in at the end of his video and someone said to him at $600, and he went, oh my God, what? It's $600? He said, well, I wouldn't recommend you buying that.
Wow. Yeah, it sure does look nice, but yeah. Now, since this is kind of like I don't think it's a finished product, so they might kind of put it out there in some hands and then change some things. Because I mean, if it's going to make you bleed, they're going to change that. I would hope, right?
Yeah, it's just, look, I just don't think you can, like I said, certain things I can even justify. Like I said, with Profoto, I can justify it because I use that gear and I shoot with that gear, and it syncs with everything else I've got. So that's a different thing. But when you're talking about tripods, which is an individual item that doesn't sync with anything else or whatever, you've really got to justify spending that much money over what, you know, something else can give you, like the Me Photos, for instance, or any of those tripods that are out there. You know, you're almost getting up there with the Gietzo. I think is a Gietzo that's like that's the ultimate tripods that you can buy. You know, and there's other things too that I looked at it and it looks very flimsy in that center column, and I just wonder how stable that will be when you lift that up. So there's other things that I would have to look at before, you know, I sort of went down that line. I mean, you know, the Vanguard stuff, a lot of their stuff is amazing. I did a review of one of their tripods just recently, and I adored that. There's a lot of other tripods out there that are way sort of more affordable that are just as good. But like I said, the monopod is a big thing for travel. Yep,
I agree with that. Hey, Will, how you doing? Glad to have you here. Glad you was able to pop in. Yep. So anyways, who was that? Mark said the same. Well, he didn't say the same thing, but he didn't like the center column either while you were talking there. So, yep. Yep. We'll see if it does any good at that price. It might be, I don't know. And if it makes you bleed, I don't know.
Yeah, Aria said Peak Design warp prices are getting ridiculous. They are very, very expensive in what they bring out. But also, I just wonder too about their methods of doing things now. Look, they're a big enough company that I don't think they should be crowdfunding anymore. And it's quite interesting because they're more or less having people pay for their development, which is the total opposite to what other companies are doing. I mean, you can understand that at the beginning when you're setting up and things like that, like starting out. But when you're an established company, having others pay for your development and research is a bit tough when you're paying, big prices like what you actually are doing and not getting that product for 6 months.
Well, when I saw, I forget her name. I like her YouTube channel, but yeah, when I seen that she says on Kickstarter, I'm like, they're still doing Kickstarter. So I was kind of shocked at that. Hey, they could do whatever they want. I don't care. But it just it actually stood out to me as kind of strange that they've been around for years now, and they sell a boatload of stuff and premium prices. So yeah, it's just kind of weird. But hey, they can do what they want. If people want that $20 discount, or is it 20% discount? Then hey. Good for you.
I think the good thing to do with that too is wait for some unsponsored reviews to come out.
Yes.
And like I said, Tony, I think was probably maybe the only unsponsored one that was out this morning, and he basically was the only one that I saw that brought up faults about it. So that was an interesting thing that he mentioned quite a number of faults that he thought were not that good as compared to the other tripod, and particularly when he heard about the price.
Yep, exactly. I would like to try it out if they want to send me one. But you know what? I think they're going to really fix some of the issues, because when you look at a lot of their products, they always have like a version 2, which is good that they're actually, fixing things. And the bag I bought not too long ago, well, it's been a while now. One of the things is like the strap on this thing right here. These actually tend to slip out, nothing too major, but they do slip out to the point where I had to put safety pins in here. So they just can't come out no more because I was sick of adjusting them. And my friend just got one a month ago, and they come with little plastic clips now, which I actually asked them a long time ago, hey, can you guys invent some type of a clip that can clip on here so those don't slide out? I don't know if they heard me or not. Probably not. But now they do have it. So they do upgrade their things. So if this tripod is something you're interested in, I think I would wait just a little while just to make sure all the bugs are fixed on it, and maybe a version 2 or something. But that's just me.
I mean, there's a couple of things. At least you're going to get the product. Like Kickstarter, you take a real.
Yes,
sometimes
that's true.
it is a real risk because they can just disappear after you've paid your money. But the one thing you can say about Peak Design, they will produce that product. I don't think they've always produced whatever has been developed, but I just think it's probably about time that they started to put their money and develop the stuff without having these Kickstarters now. They're a big enough company, you would think, to do that. So, yeah.
Yep, I agree. Do we go on to the next?
Yes. No, I noticed you had the Fuji X-T. I had that as the first story, but I've switched it around, so it's okay.
Okay, so we're good on the next one. Will be the Fuji X-Pro3.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and share my screen for all the beautiful people in the chat. Okay, so Fujifilm X-Pro3, as you guys all know, I am brand new to Fuji, so I do not know their history of their camera lineups, but I heard a lot of people like the X-Pro2. They like the way, what do you call these, rangefinder type cameras. And then I think it's the X-Pro2. If I'm wrong, forgive me, but I think it has a really unique viewfinder where it's optical and like LCD type thing. So it's kind of cool. So a lot of people are excited about the X-Pro3 to come out, as they are with an XH2 and all these. But so Fujifilm apparently is going to announce this in October of this year, which is going to be, cool for those who love that X-Pro 2-in-1 and X-Pro 3. So that's just a heads up for you guys. If you didn't know they announced it, they did. And if you know anything about this camera, and if you think it's, you know, they got that GFX 100 supposed to be. They got a whole bunch of stuff that everybody's looking for, but this one apparently is confirmed it's coming out. So if you have any comments on that or any help, leave them. I don't know how good that X-Pro2 is. Do we need an X-Pro3? So let me know for you guys. Let's stay on here. David, do you have anything to say about that?
Well, I think the X-Pro2 was a really good camera that Fuji brought out. A lot of people were very, very happy with that. So I totally understand why they've coming out with an X-Pro3. At least they're producing cameras, so you can say, you know, what's happening with Sony at the moment. That really, there's not much happening at all coming out. I suppose
true.
They put out the A6400, but they haven't released much since then. But you know, Fuji is sort of popping out cameras all over the place, and they're just about to release that new medium format that we keep hearing about. That's what, the 100 megapixel one, I think.
Yeah, the one that costs $10,000.
Yeah, but you know what? That's not expensive for what they're offering, Aaron. So it's a very good price. Yeah, if you compare that to Hasselblad, if you compare that to Hasselblad and all these other companies that are out there, Phase 1 and stuff, that one's a reasonably priced camera for what it's offering. I believe it's a Sony sensor that's in it. But I mean, have you ever thought about getting the Fuji medium format, or it doesn't interest you, Aaron?
No, just the way I shoot. Like, I'm completely happy with 24 megapixels. Even when I was thinking of going with Sony, I was debating on the A7R 2 or 3s or whatever, opposed to the A7 III. But it's just like, why? I mean, there's just no reason for me to get that megapixels on the way I shoot, what I shoot, the clients that I shoot for. So medium format, I just don't think so. And then, of course, I've never used one, but everybody always says that they're sluggish and they're not fast. So that's the last thing I want, because I work really, really fast. I mean, I work real fast. You heard the old thing like, hey, when you're doing video or photography, slow down. That's like rule number whatever. I can't follow that rule. I'm just real fast. So I don't think a medium format and me will go good together. Just don't see the need for it. How about you? Have you ever thought about going medium format?
No, well, I used to shoot with it years ago when I was in the fashion industry. So I used to do it then with medium format. Yes, and you're right. They're more suited to very slow studio type work, stuff like that. Then they're certainly not designed to be run and gun type cameras. You know, like shooting weddings, and I mean, you can, but you've got to really start to slow down and think about what you're doing. You know, so they're not ideal for that. So that's the reason why I've never sort of wanted to move over. And the other thing too is that I suppose as these cameras are getting more and more megapixels in them, like the A7 III and, you know, the Panasonic cameras that's come out, the Nikon ones and Canon, I almost wonder about the need so much for them due to the fact that you have got such resolution. The quality is still better there, don't get me wrong. It still is better if you're dealing with a much, much larger sensor, but they're certainly suited to more high-ended work, you know, like fashion and real high-end jewelry shoots, things like that, where you want the ultimate resolution, the ultimate quality, the ultimate dynamic range. You can't beat medium format for that sort of stuff, but they're certainly not in the area where I'm shooting, which is like the, you know, sort of weddings, events, portraits, all that sort of stuff. I just couldn't justify the cost.
I mean, I do magazines. I also do product photography as well, but for the clientele that I work in, the formats that I just don't need it. Now, if there was some in the future, of course, if I was to go into the realm of that type of photography and I was going to be hired by someone and seem like a career in that, then I would absolutely go there. But for now, nope, I'm happy with APS-C of all things. So I'm good.
I mean, Aaron's in here, that he's from C.R.Kennedy that I deal with. And, you know, I mean, it might be that eventually I can get, because they do sell all of the high-end cameras and lenses and stuff. So it might be that eventually that I could get one to test out for you guys and just show you what the difference is. You know,
now,
like
that
I could
would
use
be
it in a studio.
That would be really cool, because I mean, I guess I could search for those type of videos, but for you to have one of those would be really, really cool, because, you know, you've had the APS-C Sonys, you've had the full frame, and then to show us that your experience with the medium format compared to those other ones, that would be really cool. So, Aaron, if you're listening and you got it, let's do it, huh?
Yeah, because that would be interesting. You know, eventually, I mean, I had discussions the other day with Aaron, and there's going to be things I'll be looking at for different lenses for video and stuff like that. So, you know, there's some exciting things that are going to be coming up in the future. So I'm really looking forward to that side of it. Can't wait, actually.
Sweet beans.
Yeah, and like I said, if I could get my hands on a medium format camera with some lenses, it'd be a cool thing to just try and film and just sort of show how it looks.
Yeah, and I would love to see your experience, because many of us been watching all your videos, so we kind of know, like, oh, what he likes about these. We know what you say about the medium format. We're going to know what you feel about it and understand you, because we're so used to watching your videos with those other cameras. So that would be cool. Very cool. Okay. Next, are we on the RealSteady Go?
Yeah,
yes.
RealSteady. So what's the time? 28:32.
So RealSteady Go stabilizing app for the GoPro. I gotta share this. Let's see, share, and we go present. There we go. So here's the RealSteady Go stabilizer app for the GoPro cameras. This, well, I don't know if it still is, but it used to be a After Effects plugin that would stabilize your footage for your GoPro, I guess. Now what they've done is they made this a standalone, which is cool, because not everybody has After Effects. And now with Adobe, they might have seen where Adobe was going, but a lot of people don't like that Adobe, pay every month type of thing. So it's kind of cool that they have a standalone app to do this. I always thought that After Effects was pretty good in its stabilizer built in. However, I did use other plugins as well. So I never used this one in particular. And I apparently, like, when you read this, is it only for the GoPro? Because if I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it in here, but somewhere down here, apparently it takes the GoPro. I don't know. You guys might have to read this. We'll leave the link in the description.
It does look like it's only the GoPro.
Yeah, it does something about it. It knows it's a GoPro apparently, and takes that data, and so it might work out like really good. So it's not just like a, one size fits all type of thing. So if you have a GoPro, this is something to look at. I think that is it the new GoPro 7 that has that digital image stabilization inside?
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So adding this might work pretty good. Now, you almost always get a crop when using this stuff, and I don't know since I don't know anything about this standalone, if that's what happens. So maybe shooting in 4K and then using stabilization in a 1080 timeline, if that's what you can do on this. Where's that timeline? Right here. And maybe it works pretty good. Any thoughts on that, David?
Well, it seems to be like it looks like an interesting program. From what I've seen, though, that the stabilization out of the camera is pretty amazing just in itself. So, I mean, I suppose if you do have some shakiness, it might be worthwhile doing it. I just use Final Cut, and I use the built-in stabilization, which works really well in that application. So, I wouldn't buy a standalone one, but this might be good for people that just don't have these video editing programs. Exactly. Just want to stabilize the footage and then put it out. So I suppose in that regard, it might be reasonably good.
Yeah, I think that's the best point about this, is whether it's better or same as or whatever, being that it's just a standalone. It says it's a $99 here, which I think is not too bad for something like that. So if you guys have any experience with that, you're in the chat, let us know how it is.
Yeah. I noticed, just to go back to the chat to a couple of people, Oreo said, at least with Sony, you know what you have with the 7 and 9 sort of series. He's talking about the numbering, and you know what to expect with those cameras in it. The same with Canon and the numbers. Fuji and those X numbers, you can't figure them out. And he's saying he's having issues with figuring out what the camera is and where it fits in the actual list. And that's not a bad point, Aaron, actually.
You mean as far as like, well, don't they have, isn't it pretty simple? Isn't it like the XT1, XT2, XT3, and the X Pro 1, X Pro 2, I think it's kind of easy.
Well, I suppose what he's saying is, if you've got an A6000 series, it's the bottom line. Then the A7 is the step up because it's a number system just moving up. Yeah. And then you're in the A9, which is like their flagship. It's a little bit hard to tell with Fuji where each model fits. Like, Carl said, the GFX 100 is an impressive camera, but you don't know, looking at the numbers, where it fits in the whole system. Yeah,
I get it. I was confused about that. Now I get what you mean, because like the XH1 came out, and I wasn't interested in Fuji, of course, at the time. And then the XT3 came out, but it was better than the XH1, which was their flagship. Yeah, so it was kind of confusing. So I guess you just have to figure out, like, when you have that H, it's this type of camera. When you have the X, it's that type of camera. Once you get into those, then you kind of know, how the numbering system goes. But yep, I get you.
Carl says he's waiting for a 250 megapixel camera.
Oh, geez.
And Langston says, I want to see the model skin cells, damn it.
The what? Oh,
skin
yeah.
cell. So he wants
because
as much resolution, yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't they have pixel shift? If you need something ridiculous, you can pixel shift something that's not moving, I guess.
Yeah. Would love to use one in a couple of weeks, but much camera that he's talking about. I think the Fuji, like the GFX 100 camera. That's fine. All right, so we can go on to the next story, which is
next
33.
Story. Let's go here. Do you want to start off on this one, David?
Yep. Now I noticed Osmo Action has been announced and released. Well, just about to be released here. I'm definitely thinking about picking one of these up due to the fact of, look, I've got a GoPro. I think the one that I've got is the GoPro 5. I think was the one that I had. So mine's a few years back now. It's been a great camera, but there's a couple of things. It's hard for me to use due to the fact that the screen on it, mine is not a touch screen. The screen's not very good and things like that. But also to have this for a vlogging type camera may be really interesting due to the fact that you have got the front screen if you do want to use this as a vlogging camera, which looks really good. Stabilization from all the reviews that I've seen on this looks like it's slightly better than what GoPro have got, but GoPro will be having a version 8 of this camera coming out in sometime this year, so it won't be that far off, so they may leap ahead again. I mean, we don't know, but overall this looks really good. Got great image. Colors seem to be that it looks a little bit less colorful than what the GoPro does. I think the GoPro looks slightly nicer if you're dealing with color straight out of the camera, but it's something you could edit anyway a bit later.
4K 60p.
Yeah. It's got 4K 60p, yep. But the stabilization particularly looks like it's called RealSteady. I love the name.
Right here, yeah.
It does look like it's better or slightly better than what you can get from the GoPro. So very, very similar product. But, and I discussed this last week in my the Sony Alpha rumor show and stuff. And I said, I think that what might also be hurt by this is the Osmo Pocket, Aaron, because
yes,
they're very similar in what they do, apart from that this doesn't have tracking, but the stabilization is that good on this that I know when Kai reviewed it, he said it was the best, excuse me, he said it was the best stabilization he'd seen without using a gimbal, and outstanding. So, I mean, I know you love your Osmo Pocket as well. You use that a lot. Like I said, I've got it and I hardly ever use it. I should use it more, but this may interest me more because I can sort of take it everywhere. And when I say take it everywhere, you can use it on moving things and stuff like that, stick it on a car windscreen and film the car while it's moving, and stick it on a push bike or whatever and be filming as you're going on a motorbike or whatever. You can't do that with the Osmo Pocket. But it's going to be interesting to see where it all fits and where it all comes out. But I think it's a really exciting product, and it's cheaper than the GoPro. I think it's only $4.99. Well, I'm talking Australian dollars. It's $4.99 here, so it's $100 cheaper for me than the Osmo Pocket. So I might buy this anyway just to have it in my kit, particularly for when I come out to the States in February, Aaron.
Yeah, that's, I was looking, let me stop this. We can, where did it go? We can look up here. Yeah, that's the smart thing right there. They put that front screen on there. One thing about the Osmo Pocket is a little annoying is that you do have to try to, let me stop sharing that real quick. Hello. Can you see that? Is it going to focus on that there? Yeah, when you want to change this around, you got to press a button, of course. And sometimes you accidentally don't press it right or whatever. And having just two screens is best because I don't know how are the screens on at the same time?
No, they switch. Apparently you can double tap, I think, and it switches between the two.
So it's like the same as this, except it doesn't have to spin around.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, the only thing about this is I wish that they had a way to, let me turn that off. And I wish they had a way that I could lock it for the purpose of, you just said that I could, I don't have all my setup here, but I was using this magic arm here I was using I wanted to film the back of the screen because I don't have a Ninja and all that stuff to record things like that. And I wanted to do this photo walk. So I had this on top of the camera with the Osmo here, and I just had it upside down and it flipped, and to kind of see my camera, the screen, and what I'm shooting, it looked cool. But of course, every time you turn around, the gimbal starts, fading away and going all over. So I just wish they had a way to lock it, which I know they could do that. For one, they could just kill it like it is now and have a device like this. This is like a little protector type thing that can snap on, and it could just do that, snaps on like that and keeps it facing forward. So I don't think they'll do that now because of this, is what I'm getting to. But yeah, I do like the tracking on this. We just did a behind the scenes photo shoot, me and my wife, for a Viltrox 85mm f1.8 that I'm testing out with a 90mm Fuji. And I liked it because I could set it up and it's just a little more dynamic where I'm over here, and as I walk, it follows me, and then they can see the bridge and my wife down there. And as I turn my head, it actually just stops like that. So there is reasons for this, but if they just could make it lock, then I would be happy. But this one is going to be good for those things that you just can't lock something down, like you said, on cars and all that stuff. Because you put that on the car and you start turning, it just starts drifting on you. Yeah, and that's I mean, I noticed there was an update to that just the other day where they've put hyperlapse in it, Aaron. So, and they've apparently fixed some of the focusing issues and stuff like that. So there was an update to the Pocket that came out 2 days ago, I think. So if you haven't done that, it might be worthwhile to. Yeah, I see that come out, but I didn't have time to do it yet. Yeah. But I just want them to be able to lock it. If they can just kill power like they do when you turn it off, and I could put it in any position and then just put a little locking. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's like a little protective thing that can just lock it, and then it would be good. Yeah, like you said, I don't think that's going to happen now that they brought this, and that's the only thing where I think that that's the only real problem with this, is because this can move so freely. It's not going to hold up against any wind or anything like that you're dealing with. If you stuck it outside a car window, it's not going to function if you were moving, because it's just not strong enough to battle that. So yeah, what Aaron's saying is right, that if you could have some way of locking it, but if the problem is, if you did lock it manually, it's going to probably burn the motors. Your motors are going to have real issues, and that's the issue with it. Power to the motors. Yeah, it would be a software thing where it says, free move camera head or something. I don't know. Just that way, it just freely moves where you want. But they'd have to come out with an accessory that locks it. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they could do it. Yeah, they could, but I don't think it's going to happen. No, not with this now. And also, like when you're holding this, let's see if we look how amazing that Fujifilm actually autofocus. Everybody says it's terrible. It's actually pretty good. But if you see, if I turn it enough, it's going to not be pointing forward no more. I don't know if I can do this here live, but it will start pointing off to the side, and that's what I was having problems when I was trying to film the back of my camera, is as I moved and did photography, it would be pointing way off to the side. And you just need something like this new, what's this called? Osmo Action. Yep. So that's my thoughts on it. Yep. I mean, look at this. It's a great, I still think it's a great product, the Pocket. I just haven't really had the time to use it enough yet. And you have. And like I said, you're happy with the results. I probably still need to look at it more before I, start to bag it. I'm not bagging it, but I just haven't used it enough to talk about it. But I think the Osmo Action is probably going to hurt the sales of it a little bit. I think. Yeah, I think so. I mean, if the only thing I see good for this now is for tracking me, which I do like that. You're not just like any. Yep. All my YouTube videos before the Action, I don't have someone filming me, so it's always static right like this. But with the Osmo, I can be over here. I did it in some of my videos, and I would walk over here, and I would stand up, and it would just track me. So it brings more dynamic to my videos. So for that, I would use it for. But if I could only lock it for other things, but now it looks like you're going to have to get one of these things. Well, Langston also made a really good comment, and I keep forgetting about that too, that its biggest strength is on a pole. So you can use it like a crane. And that's one thing that I keep forgetting about, the fact that you can stick this on a really long pole and use it like it's a massive crane going up. And that gives you a fantastic look. And I keep forgetting about that, actually. Yeah, and if you watch my behind the scenes, anytime I'm using this, actually, I'm going to do a video on how I basically modified I guess is it modified? I don't know. A little trick, I guess, with the light stand. Yeah, I did modify it because when we do behind the scenes, we go places where it's crowded or the light, we're losing light or it's not safe or whatever. And I need to set this up quick and get moving. So I basically have this thing here attached. I forget the name of this case right here. Got it a while ago now, but I carry it like this. I have a strap, so it's all ready to go. And all I got to do is just pull this out, put it down, and then I'm already up and running and press record like that. And like you said, on a stand, sometimes I film myself holding this, and it's tall and it can track me down. I don't have to try to adjust anything. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't have to adjust the head and say, am I in? Do it again. It's tracking me. And if I come down automatically because my arm's getting tired, I'm always kind of centered. So yeah.
So when you're saying it's tracking you, are you just clicking on yourself on the front screen? Are you? Is that how you're doing it with the tracking?
It automatically face tracks you when you're in 1080. When you're in a 4K, it doesn't. So when you're in 1080, sometimes I think I've been doing 1080 30p lately for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's just set that way. I think something with, I don't know. But anyways, you have it in 1080, and when it's filming you like this, it just automatically a box goes around you and automatically just starts tracking your face. So as you hold this up, it's just tracking my face, and it's still looking at me while I'm looking down. And if my arm gets tired, I'm always centered pretty much. So yeah, Langston, that was a good idea. And of course you could do crane shots with that, but yeah, that's how I use whoops, sorry guys. That's how I use it.
Cool. Yeah, because I know at the moment with mine, see, I need to get an adapter. I've got that other adapter somewhere here, but this thing, but you've got to hold the whole thing across to attach this on a tripod or something like that. But your adapter has the screw in on the bottom of the unit, Aaron. So I think that's a much better system than what this is really, because see, I've got to put it in like that, and then I can screw this into a light stand. But yours looks like it's a bit more minimal because the screw goes into the bottom of the case, which is on that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I really looked for something minimal because I don't use the phone in this thing, because once you attach a phone to it, it's just, I didn't see the need for it. That's why I like this, is because it had that screen, and that's all I need is to compose myself. Now, when we were on my last video behind the scenes photographing my wife, we were on a bridge, and when it's just like this far from me, I was and my wife was way down the bridge, I couldn't see because it's such a small little thing. So yeah, that was one thing a phone could have worked, but that's a very rare shot, and I don't like having that big phone on there. So by getting this, it actually gives you the 1/4-20 on the side there, so you can mount that off of a magic arm or something or whatever, or a light or a microphone or whatever. And then at the bottom is another one, and I might be too close to that. And so it works out pretty good, and it's kind of a hefty type of case and mounted.
How much was that one?
I don't know. It was cheap. I mean, I got it a long time ago. I just started using it. It was like really cheap. I forget.
Langston's saying he thinks it's a Polo Pro case.
Yeah, I don't remember. They've got all these knockoffs now. I don't know what it is, but it was cheap. I mean, it was dollars. I don't know. It was cheap, but I got to do a review on that because it and how I use it on my stand. And the thing is because I use it on there, it's so quick. I just leave it on there. I throw it over my shoulder and I set these up so I don't even have to unscrew nothing. It just comes out, and you only have to do one of these, and it's like it's already at face level, and we can film myself and say, "Yoo-hoo, Aron J Anderson here," blah 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 blah. And when we're ready to go, just one pull like this, and we're off. And yeah.
Oh, it sounds good. All right, next story.
We
put in the time 46:50. So we're looking at this new Godox trigger that's come out. I noticed now the interesting thing is this Godox trigger that's come out, it's the XT2, also has Bluetooth in it. So when Aaron scrolls down, you'll see that you can connect this to the phone, which is interesting. So it has more features than the previous one, but now you can connect it to iOS phones and stuff like that. And you can see the app there where he's got the phone there, so you can use it on phone control if you want to. There's more control, obviously more buttons and things like that you can press on this. Looks like it's quite a nice looking little unit. I don't know, which one do you use on this, Aaron, at the moment?
Well, what I use is the older one. Well, when I first got It's been a while, but when I first got it, it was like the, what is it, the XT1, I guess it was called. Oh yeah, this is it right here. Yeah,
the X1T. Yeah.
Oh, that was just so annoying. And I was just, let me unshare this so I can show you guys what I do now. I got to stop. Oops, where am I at? Stop. Okay, so I was using that, but it was so annoying because it has a dial on it, and it's just, the dial was so like just soft and sensitive. When I'm shooting and I look down, my settings changed. It was just so annoying to me. And then you don't scroll like an arrow, like a graphic arrow. You actually scroll the menu within. It just drove me nuts. I don't know how people actually like that unit. It was just so fiddly, and I'm trying to shoot and all that stuff. So what I ended up doing is just using TT350s as a trigger, because it's like hard buttons, you got to push it to the next one, push it to the next one, and just dial it up or dial it down, go to group B, dial higher or lower, group C, and it's just so solid, so easy. And the way I have it set up is this does not fire when I'm using it as a trigger, and it's not really that large. But now this XT2 comes out, and it seemed like it fixed all of those issues that the XT, if I'm saying the X1T, I might be saying it wrong. All the issues that had, it seemed like this fixed it. So I'm still going to use this, just because when I'm doing a wedding, I love to use this on the dance floor, triggering my flash, my softbox or whatever I'm using. And then a lot of times someone will say, hey, we need photos over here. There's something going on. I just go over there, and I've already have a flash on there. And I probably maybe use something different than this diffuser here, but I already have a flash on there, which can light up plenty of people in front of me on a dance floor, or someone doing something crazy or funny. And then I can just go back, click one button, and then start using my flash again. So with that, they do have a hot shoe on top, but man, it was just so janky to have a flash on top of that, where this just does it all. It's very easy. It doesn't have Bluetooth and stuff like that, but that's what I use now. And I'm glad they updated it, though, because it might be something that is a lot better than the first version.
Yeah, Gerald says the XT2 is not their top trigger. It's an update of the original trigger. Yeah. He also says on there that the Flashpoint Pro 2 is better and has an iPhone app as well. So it looks like they're all moving into the iPhone apps. That's an Adorama exclusive, though. I was showing the other day this beautiful little trigger that I got from Profoto the other day, Aaron. That you look at this thing here, and it's. Oh
yeah, I saw the video.
It's so tiny. I'll just have to see if I can hide my face. But this thing, initially I was a little bit skeptical about using this due to the fact that, let me just put it on. I'll show you the size of this little thing, because I thought I really only wanted to have something that I'd be able to control easily. But I've since changed my mind a bit, because you can see how tiny this thing actually is on the camera. I mean, it's that small, and it only has a couple of controls, which is off, auto, and manual on there. But the great thing now is I've worked out that I can now, the TTL using this, I've found it's the best TTL I've ever used, and it is that rock solid in all the testing that I've done so far that I really have hardly even had to adjust it. It's been pretty well straight out of camera. So for me to be shooting weddings and stuff, this may be the real go way to do it. But I've now worked out that I can use flash compensation in the camera. So, it's just as simple now as setting it on a quick key, and then I just go into here and I just control it on my camera, which you can see here. So, and that controls it beautifully. So I can go +3 or -3 from there. So even though it doesn't have the control on the actual flash unit up here, I can control it very, very easily from the back of the camera. And it works identical to me doing it manually or using the phone. So people were sort of complaining about saying they've got to use the phone. Well, you don't now, because you can use this just to control the flash power. The great things about the Sony, you can change the settings for your flash settings to use to change just flash exposure, or also to change ambient and flash. So you've got control over whether you just want to manipulate the flash side with the flash exposure compensation, and that's what I've been doing, and it's been working amazing. So it's changed my thinking about it, because a couple of people said initially you were saying you weren't interested in it, and that was true. Initially I wasn't. In fact, I bagged it a little bit at the beginning, but since I've used it, it's changed my thinking a bit, Aaron.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, I don't know if this is anything to brag about, but mine's smaller than yours.
Yeah, that's tiny as well.
Look at that little thing. That's a flash cue or something. Now, these do not have. Well, I think I might be too close to the camera, but that is basically a dumb trigger for any camera. You put that on there, and then you have this one, which would go on a light stand, and then you could put it here. The cool thing about it is a dumb trigger, so you could put. This is how I travel a lot with just like something like this. That way I can get off-camera flash if I want to on the cheap on something small. If I'm not looking to go out and do some like real, thinking about I need bright, I could take another flash or anything, but I do that a lot. It's just a dumb trigger. So it just basically you take a shot and it fires this, which is okay. You can go over there and set up different settings, and at least you got some, off-camera light. I have a video review on this called the what's it called? The T2 Lightpix Labs Flash Cube Trigger Kit. That's a mouthful. So yeah, it's kind of cool, but no high-speed sync or TTL.
I just laughed at Tim because he said I'm now a Profoto shill. And I just put in there, Tim, I've used Profoto for years, and look, everything I've got with Profoto, apart from these, which have been lent to me, which is the A1, has all been purchased from my own money. I'm certainly not sponsored by Profoto at all. I've never been given anything by Profoto. I just love it as gear, just like people love their cameras and stuff like that. So I do promote Profoto, but I'm certainly not paid for it. So, I mean, he had a smiley face when he was saying it.
Yeah, no, the Profoto stuff is absolutely amazing equipment. I think it's just because Godox copied them. Now it's like, oh, what? But I think it's great. Carl, Carl asked. I left a link for you, Carl. You can go check out the link to the T2 Lightpix Labs Flash Q Trigger Kit review.
Tim said he was just taking the piss, and I knew that, Tim. I knew you were only having a go. But yeah, look, I do. I mean, I'm always honest to people in the fact that, I say if you were just starting out, there's no way I'll be going into Profoto. And I've discussed that in most of my videos that, I talk about. I'm lucky that I have, a full-time business that I can afford to buy that type of gear, because it's incredibly expensive. I don't know how much I've spent over the years, because I've got a big setup, of Profoto gear. I think about 7 or 8 lights, which is, I'm talking a big investment there. But the thing for me, the type of work that I do, they've never, ever let me down, never misfire, keep up with the dancing shoots that I do without overheating and stuff like that. And, and there's things like that which matter for me. But, if you're starting out, I certainly could only recommend Godox for a lot of people starting out, because the money you save is so much. So, yeah, well, I'm always honest about it.
I would say also, what was that other brand that I've had for years? Not Godox, but there's another one. Can't remember now. I liked them, but I had a couple burn out on me. But it's just the same with those. Is you got your Canon brands, you got your Nikon brands, and your Nissans, and all the whatever those are called. It's the same thing. You either if you want the cheaper stuff, buy the cheaper stuff. They're not going to hold up as well. They're going to misfire. You can burn them out, all those types of things. So the Profoto is no different. If you're a working pro and you just want to know that it's going to work every time, then go Profoto. If you're a casual user or you don't use flash much, then you can go with the Godox and so forth. Although Godox is better than another brand I can't remember. But yeah, it's all, I think Profoto is an amazing quality product.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's just, you just have to be able to justify the money, and it's like anything in life. Like I said, some people will have an Apple Watch, others will have a Tag Heuer, or whatever you like to, however you pronounce it. It's the same as anything else, that there's always a market for high-ended stuff, just like there's always a market for the low-ended stuff as well. And it will always be the same. Some will, buy a Mercedes, some will buy a Ford. I mean, it's,
exactly.
It's just choice.
Okay, so do we show a photo or go to our last story?
No, you can quickly show your photo if you want to go to that.
Yeah, now this is kind of a photo. I'll just try. This has been a while since I did this, guys, but let me show you my photo. Okay, so this is my photo I'm going to share. Now, I did, we went to a gym and I forget how many people, the same night. How we did this, first of all, we all went, I went there and I said, okay, you guys got to come up with your own move that you want to do, because this was for a promotional piece for their gym, and we just wanted to come up with everybody have their own move. So we kind of worked on that the first hour, like, okay, well, how about you try this and do this and all that stuff. Some of them already had like, hey, I want to do this. Okay, cool. Once we got that down, well, how we set this up was, I think this was a Sony a6000 at the time, and we had 2 flashes on umbrellas, one on the left, one on the right, kind of 45-degree angle type thing. And we had it, the background was a gray, a gray sheet, king size sheet from Walmart. I'm really good at getting cheap stuff, okay, and trying to make it look and use it the best I can. So that's a gray sheet in the background that I used a green screen setup for, and then I just used those Home Depot type, sometimes they come orange, sometimes they come with green handles to tighten the gray screen up, and we just kept going around till it was nice and tight. So that's all that is in the background. And I believe I had another flash on the ground shooting up to give that vignette that you see there on the back. And how we got them up in the air is we had one of those exercise jumping things. You know, they're smaller. What do you call those things? I don't know what you call them, but you know, they're bouncy and you bounce on or whatever. So we set that off to the left, and when they ran and jumped, they kind of flew forward across the frame of the camera there. And then with the a6000, I forget how many shots per second that did. We just until we got the right shot. Now, when you're doing stuff like this, what we did was we made sure we killed all the ambient light in the gym so that my flash becomes the shutter speed. And I forget what my settings were because this, for some reason, didn't have any metadata on it. But when I set it up, I made sure that I used a shutter speed that was low enough to kill the ambient. I was probably using an f5.6 or an f8 or something like that, just so that I get them all in focus. So in case they came in at an angle, they wouldn't be soft or blurry. And once we did a couple takes for each one, I showed each of the people on a separate monitor that I was like kind of tethered to. I think it was my iPad actually at the time, automatically transferring files. I think that's how I did it. And once they liked it, cool. Then when I went into post-production, I added the logo in the back that you see, LF, that's for luxury fitness. And then I used expressions on the first one, which was this in Photoshop. And after I got my expressions down and did all this, I don't know what you call that, ashes, I don't know what you call it. And then I add that expression to all the other ones and then just change the color up, because whatever color they were wearing is the color of the ashes that I did. So I don't know what else to say. That's how I did it. I can go longer, but we don't have much time. So David, that's it.
Yeah, that's cool. I really like the look of it. It looks really interesting. What do they call, particles or something that you've drawn there? I'm
particles. Sure. That's it. Yep, use particles. So go ahead and share yours now. I'm gonna go out of mine.
Down. Let me go here and share application. That one. Did that come up, Aaron? I don't know. I think it has.
Yeah. I gotta present you. Let me see.
Okay, yeah, there we go. All right, so this is Rebecca. This was a shot that I did a week or so ago. I was testing out I think this was the Sony 135mm. I can't remember sometimes because I did 2 similar shots with the Sigma and also the Sony, the 135. But this was shot at 1/1600th of a second at f1.8. So I wanted to shoot wide open with the lens to see how it performed. And it's also on ISO 125. Now you can see the background is quite light here, so I had to adjust the ambient exposure first to get that lovely color that's all in the background of the autumn colors there that were in the background. And then I used the Profoto B10. So I used an off-camera flash here to light Rebecca up to balance her from the background. And I think it's lovely. And like I said, one of the tricks with using what you call is good flash photography is you can't often tell that you've used flash, and that's what I always try to go to not make it look too flashy, and that's what I've aimed for here, to get that balance between the background and also the ambient as well. The Profotos also tend to give a nice warm color look, so the warm look that I've actually got here is coming from the lights. I know other cameras that flashes that come out can be more on the blue side. this is one area where the Profoto excels, because it does come out almost like daylight, and it's got that slightly warm balance to it, which I adore. But and I love it. I mean, I really love this image. I think the rendering of the lens is just gorgeous. The thing I found shooting with the 135 is it pops the model right from the background. The separation is incredible when you look at that. You know how you get that separation from the background, razor sharp, beautiful skin tones, and everything else. And you know, I just love it. So all this is one off-camera flash on. I was doing the shoot myself. I did this with the flash on a light stand to the right-hand side of the camera, pointed basically directly at Rebecca. I asked her to look that way because sometimes I like it when they don't look directly at the camera. It gives a bit of mystery and stuff like that to it as well. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. I think the colors are just beautiful on this image. That's about it, Aaron.
Yes, let's see if I can stop presenting that. Yeah, that's I told you in one of your things, I think that was my favorite photo set that I've ever seen that you've done. Not that it was your best or whatever. It's just, I just love her clothing, her hair, the lighting that you use, the angles, the time of year. Yeah, that's right up my alley there. I love that. Very, very, very good.
And I know what was that? I was just saying, Gerald put a comment on saying, and I didn't mean that no pros use the Godox, and they do, obviously, a lot do, but I just put a comment saying that, and I can only talk about here in Europe from where I did some work, definitely in Australia and Europe. If you're talking about the high-end fashion industry, Profoto is always used more extensively than anyone. Gerald says you might be surprised if you come to the USA. It may be different. Well, I like I said, I haven't shot out there, Gerald, but I know particularly in Europe and Australia, if you do any high agency stuff, it's always Profoto that's being used for the high end stuff. It may be different in the US. I don't know.
I'd like to welcome Enrique for popping in here. I think this might be his first time here. He lives right down the street from me. He's a really great photographer, and he actually was on that photo shoot, ironically, that I just presented of the guy jumping through the air there. So thanks for stopping by, Enrique. Love to have you here. Thanks for being here. And we went on a photo walk actually last week too with our Fuji. He's a new Fuji user too, and that was like just a coincidence that we both got into Fuji at the same time. So thanks for being here, Enrique.
Beautiful.
Let's go to the last story. We're running out of time.
Yep. All right, we'll go through this pretty quickly. So I noticed Adobe were coming out. This is an interesting story that Aaron will put the links down below so you can have a look. But basically, it's talking about alternatives to Lightroom that are out there. But there was one image that I wanted to show in this to talk about particularly is as you scroll down, Aaron, that it's showing how different they are, the images. Now, this was a raw image that is taken into each of these programs and how different each program is. If you look at, say, OM1 compared to Capture One, compared to the Nikon Capture, compared to Lumina, they're all completely different. And it's quite interesting how they interpret the raw file. It's a pity they didn't put a Lightroom in there as well to compare. I know. But yeah, but it's interesting when you look at that, but how different they are from as a foundation image without any corrections in there. I thought that was interesting. But if we scroll down, there's just some other ones that are in there that talking about you can use that Skylum, which is one program, which is $60, I think, that is around now. And there's down below that, and I'll pass on to you in a second, Aaron. There's also OM1, which has just been released. It's 2019.5 that you can also use now as well. And the next one I think they show is Capture One. I've got that, but I haven't used it yet, but I have purchased it. I had ideas about tethering and stuff, but that's also available as well if you wanted to get rid of Lightroom. And was there another one? Yeah, DxO Photo Lab. I did buy a version of that years ago. I've never used it since, but I did buy a version of that early on because I liked the film simulations and stuff like that came with that program. But you know, look, as Adobe keeps changing the ground rules and they keep doing different things, people are looking now for alternatives. And this was an interesting discussion about what is available out there at the moment. I still don't think there's really anything that can replace Photoshop, and that's the issue for me at this stage. Like, there's nothing out there that really I can say, I've really wanted to move over and get rid of Photoshop because I love Photoshop so much. Lightroom I could probably do without if I had to, and do something like On One or something like that, or Capture One. But it's Lightroom is the issue for me. But I was particularly interested in that the RAW file that we looked at, Aaron.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Now, going over to the Fuji, you hear about the worms that it does, and Fuji is in working with what's the one? The Capture One. It's Capture One for Fuji cameras, and I use mobile. I used to use Lightroom in the very beginning. Then I went to Lightroom Mobile, and so I do have a video testing out Capture One with Lightroom Mobile, along with Affinity Photo Mobile. And you know what? They do look a little different, but nothing that I would write home about and say like, oh, that's terrible. The only reason why I'm still with Lightroom is the way I'm going to do a video on this. The way I have it is when I shoot, whether it's in RAW or JPEG or both or whatever, I bring them into my iPad and I immediately put them into Lightroom Mobile. And then I delete them from my camera roll. So now they're in Lightroom Mobile, and they go into the cloud and all that stuff. From there, I just started putting them in a portfolio of mine that is going to be on my new website. It's called, I forget what it's aronjanderson.com, but it's not up yet. But it goes through Lightroom portfolio. Once all those are in there, actually, now you won't see all those raw images in my portfolio. I can choose which ones. But once those are all in there, I can share that folder to, let's say, the magazine corporation, whatever you call them, or the bride, or who's ever hired me to do the photography of photo products or whatever, and then they can look at those in that folder, and then in that they can like the ones they want, and then it pops up on my iPad saying, hey, someone just liked your photo, and I know it's them because they're the only ones with the link. And then right inside Lightroom on my iPad, which I've been there since I transferred the files over, I can start doing my corrections right there. So for me, it's like super powerful. And then all the ones that they didn't like, I can just take them out of the folder, leaving only the ones that they liked all fixed and ready to go. If I need to do, more like frequency separation or just more Photoshop type stuff, then I can output that to my Affinity Photo in my iPad. So that's, sorry it went so long, but that's my workflow with Lightroom and why I'm keeping it and not going with these others, because I didn't find that there's any better. And people keep saying, oh, you got to try Capture One. It's oh my God. I didn't see it. I have a video. Maybe it's a little better, but it wasn't so much better that I would ruin all that workflow I just got done explaining to you guys. So that's why I keep Lightroom. I still think it looks great. It works for me. And that Affinity Photo does all those higher techniques that Photoshop can do when it comes to just photography and compositing. I'm sure it does a whole bunch of stuff like I showed you with those particles you can't do, but I think it works good for me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that, like I said, there's nothing for me that would make me want to switch over. That's the thing. But they do have to be careful, if they keep stuffing people around like what they were trying there, which is doubling prices and things like that, they're eventually going to be hurt. So they need to be careful with how they treat people.
That's because when they went over, because I've been an After Effects user for 11 years now, and once they went into that stupid pay a month or year thing, I was like, oh, that's just terrible, And then they say now you can get sued if you're using the old one, and then they upped the price, and then they went back. Yeah, they're going to be losing a lot of people because there's so many better options out there. But it only takes one of these companies to have that type of workflow, that Lightroom. I mean, they can add that as a module. If maybe they already do, and I don't know. They can add a module to where it's the same thing as Lightroom, and I would probably be gone if I can buy one time and be done with it. So yeah, they got to be careful.
Yep. All right, so we'll quickly do a couple of minutes just of Q&A. I noticed Langston also said here that he installed a new roll of paper, and I'm very proud of myself. He's setting up a studio, so good on you, Langston. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun with that. Oreo said it's different kind of pros that use Godox. It's people like me, wedding photographer, portrait photographers, and part-time product photographers who use Godox. Fashion photographers use Profoto, and I agree with that. And that's what I've seen in the marketplace as far as I was concern. Oreo said also nobody ever mentions DxO Photo Lab. But it's a really good substitute for Lightroom. Well, it sort of was mentioned in that there. I used to use DxO years ago, but I certainly haven't used it for a long, long time. Carl said Photoshop is king, and that's the problem. I've never ever seen anything for me that can substitute what Photoshop does.
Can at the moment
for me. Casper said worms. What does that mean? I think he's saying.
Worms is just like in Lightroom with Fuji RAW files. If you over sharpen it, you see you have to pixel peep by like 400, 500%, like ridiculous to see it. But when you over sharpen it, because the X-Trans sensor and Adobe doesn't know how to fix that in Lightroom, Photoshop, it doesn't have it. But in Lightroom, if you over sharpen it, you get that. But all you have to do is once you bring a raw file in, it automatically adds 40 sharpening to all your photos. And if you just use the radius or that new thing that we talked about on the last show, texture, I think it was called, you don't really get those worms anymore. So it's kind of like it doesn't bother me even if they didn't do an update to Lightroom anyway.
Yeah.
So.
What else we've got? Sydney Image says, can you both do a show on audio? And we may do that as the show starts to grow. We might try and do an audio version as well that we can stick on a podcast or something like that. I've always thought about doing that. Oreo said, people like me who work for 20 years with Photoshop are going to stay with Photoshop because you don't trash 20 years of experience, but new people who start now will probably not enter Photoshop. And you might be right, Oreo, and that's the issue for me too, that I know Photoshop so well that there's no way that I'm going to move off it, not unless something really interesting comes out. Well,
on that note, being an After Effects user for 11 years, I became really proficient with that. I worked with some guy that invented how to do like joints and stuff in like a 3D inside. I have a video on it. I use it for the robot in my sci-fi film. And so for me to switch to something else for After Effects would just be really difficult. But DaVinci Resolve is free, and it's a really good editing software. But it also has, I would have to open this to see what it's called. Inside here, they have an After Effects type of software called Fusion, and it's a compositor type thing. So I might start looking into Fusion on DaVinci Resolve just in case I get sued for using an old After Effects that I paid for. So they are, Adobe is kind of pushing me to learning something different just because of that. So yeah, I know how you guys feel about Photoshop, that's for sure.
Oh, so yeah, Sydney. Okay, he was talking about something else. He meant, can we do an audio recording for video show? And that would be interesting. We should do one like that where we talk about audio for video. That would be very interesting. Also, Uncaged said, just reset the defaults of your Fuji cam in Lightroom to under 20 sharpening, all sorted. I think he's talking about the worms there.
What does it say? Just reset the defaults for your Fuji cam to Lightroom to under 20. Well, when I keep it at 40, I don't see it unless I pixel peep by 500% or something like ridiculous over. And I just said, it never even bothered me when I first got the Fuji. I'm going to try that and see, but it just doesn't bother me as of right now anyways, but I'll give it a try.
And that's it. So that's about all. Just a quick reminder too, guys, I'll be doing my live show, the Sony Alpha Rumors and News show tomorrow, not on the usual day, because on Friday and Saturday I've got weddings. So the live show will be pushed to tomorrow. So it'll be a day earlier than usual. So if you are looking out for that, it will be a day earlier. Apart from that, Aaron, what have you got coming up? Anything?
No, just going to finish up. My wife just said, what's up with the glasses? I don't think I got something wrong with me. I just wanted to look cool, man. It's like my cool new, someone photo me, Ike said, what do you call it? Midlife crisis. It's just changing things up. No, I have a video coming out that does the Viltrox 85mm f1.8 versus the Fujifilm 90mm f2. I did bokeh tests and sharpness tests and low light stills focusing and video focusing and all these different little tests that I'm going to compile and make a video because I know a lot of people are looking at both of those lenses for their Fujifilm. So that's what I'll be doing next.
Yeah, and yes, Rui just said usual time tomorrow. So yes, it will be the usual time tomorrow, Rui, about similar time we started to today's show. So yes, normal time. Please, if you can, guys, give us a thumbs up. We do have 25, but let's see if we can make that to 50 because there's 50 watching. We'd love you to support the show.
Yeah.
And next week it will be on my channel. Tomorrow's Casper saying what time? It'll be about 10 o'clock my time. The usual time that we put the show on the Thursday for you guys. So it's 10 a.m. Melbourne time. I think that's around about the same time we started today. What time was that, Aaron? Your time? It was
8 o'clock Eastern time. Yeah. So 8 o'clock.
Yeah, 8 o'clock Eastern time. So it'll be that time tomorrow. So apart from that, everyone, see you all in the next video. Great show, Aaron. I've had a ball.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll see you next Tuesday, and subscribe to our channels. Give us a thumbs up. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, now I can press the red button, unlike David pressed it earlier last week.